Hey, it's your girl Barbie J here, and we are talking about another great episode of The Equalizer, starring Queen Latifah, Season 2, Episode 11, Chinatown. And it focused mostly on, hate crimes in the Asian community, which is definitely a topic that has been in the news over the past couple of years. Anyhow, before we get started with this recap, if you have not subscribed to my channel as of yet, please take a moment right now and hit that subscribe button. Then hit the notification bell and select all. It'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Then I ask that you smash that like button, write a comment, and share the video. Okay? So that's subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now let's get on with this recap. So it starts off with some Asian woman. You see her in a bakery, and she's being helpful and kind to everybody, and she's helping the little kids and chatting with the customers. And then you see her reaching for something. You see her bruised ribs and stuff or something on the side of her. Then you see somebody with a lighter at the door, which means they're threatening her. She's telling them to get away from here, and they're threatening her. And what ends up happening is whoever that was, they burnt down her shop, killing her inside. Saying she died from smoke inhalation. But what it is this young girl who, her name is Chloe, she used to work with her and follow her around. She loved this lady. The lady who died was Miss Lee, and she's Asian, as you see, Lee Wong. And the young lady feels that she didn't die accidentally, and the police were saying it was an electrical fire and that she died from smoke inhalation. But this young girl says that's not it. She knows that that's not it, and she needed Robin's help to find out the truth because she definitely feels it was a hate crime. So Robin speaks with Mel and Harry about it, and they check out surveillance cameras from that last day. And a guy named Frank Mitchell was there at the time of the break-in, and you hear the broken glass. And after that, the next thing you know, Miss Lee Wong is dead. So Robin decides she's going to go to visit him. But before she goes to visit him, we see Delilah is supposed to be, well, we don't see Delilah, but we see Aunt Vi is in the kitchen making something. And Delilah was supposed to be helping her with some special family recipe that takes hours to make. And Delilah stood up Aunt Vi to go shopping with a friend. And so Robin was disappointed, and she's saying you don't bail out on family, when you make a promise and stuff. And Aunt Vi begs her not to punish Delilah. She said she didn't want her to be in the kitchen working with her all pouty, a pouty teenager, when she had something better she felt she can do. Not, but with Aunt Vi, I was like, Aunt Vi, if the girl promised and said, and y'all had an arrangement that she was going to work with you that day, and y'all made plans, she shouldn't have changed her plans because something better came up for her to do, And that's where I understand what Robin as a mother was trying to say, she's not supposed to bail on her like that. Then we see that young woman that remember when Robin got arrested and was in prison, and then there was some little tough girl. She was in the cell with Robin trying to be tough. Her name was Kesha, and Robin helped her and explained to her that sometimes people care for you and be there for you. And so Robin promised to be there for her if the girl went through this special program. So the girl did go through the program, and she said it's been hard going through the program, but part of the program was she has to speak in front of a class or give a presentation or talk to some young students, and Robin promised to be there for her. But Robin has to do this first. She got called to do this thing in Chinatown. So she kept watching the clock as the day progressed. So now when Robin arrived to this guy, what's his name? I said Frank Mitchell's house. He was getting beat up, and Robin came in just in time, and she fought the guy, but she got away. And now Robin is questioning the guy Frank, and he doesn't really want to talk, but he knows some of what happened, but won't say anything. So he actually, in the video, they see that he left Miss Lee by herself, and he's told Robin there was about 2 or 3 guys. She said, so you left him with 2 or 3 guys and never even called the police to help her? And so Robin leaves. She's disgusted with him and she leaves. And he's like, well, what do I do if they come back? Because they were beating him up. He said, well, then you'll know how Miss Lee felt. I said, you know what? She is so right. You worried about one guy coming to beat you up and you left a woman with 3 guys, 2 or 3 guys. He wasn't sure. Then we learned that the rival bakery was putting up negative reviews about Miss Lee's because they were losing business. So Harry goes to visit that bakery and find out who was writing those reviews from the same IP address. And he did go with Mel. In the meantime, Delilah calls Robin and asks to go to the movies with her friends. And Robin lets her know. She's like, I can't believe you calling me about that. And she said what she did wasn't right. That she took Aunt Vi for granted. Aunt Vi was going to she was showing you respect and trust by sharing a recipe with you. That's what she was doing. She said, so Robin let Dee know that, unlike you, she said, I honor my commitments. And she left Dee standing there, and Dee was like, whatever, because Dee was trying to say, well, Aunt Vi said it was okay. She said, you knew it wasn't okay for Aunt Vi. She just said that because she was being nice. And that's when she said, you knew you took her for granted. But Robin did tell her she could go. She could do whatever. Go ahead. But she just let her know how she felt. But anyway, then we see that somebody is following Robin. And it seems she can feel it, but she doesn't see anybody. And in the meantime, Mel and Harry, they made it to the rival bakery, and with technology, because they real technical. With this technology, they learned the man's nephew is the one who wrote the reviews, because they said the IP address was linked to his store, and the man was saying it wasn't. But they were able to call back the phone that was used, and the nephew's phone rang. And he got mad at the nephew. He was disappointed at his nephew. I could say that much. The nephew was saying it's not fair, but he said they've been there for years, and that this other store was only there 1 year, and now they have to close. And they looked like they were like Italian or Irish or something. And Mel said, yeah, it's not fair that Miss Lee had to feel like an outsider in her own neighborhood, which was Chinatown. I said, you better tell her. But you know what? Mel looked like she's some kind of Asian or something, herself. Now that I'm thinking about it and looking at her, she might have have some feelings about this because of that. But anyway, so Robin meets up with Detective Dante, and updates him on what's going on with the hate crimes with Miss Lee and stuff. And when Robin gets out of Dante's car and she's being followed into a garage, and so she turns on her car, but somehow she gets out of it, and the guy comes around with a gun or something, and she grabs him and throws him up against the car and puts him down on his knees, and she pulls off his mask, and she learns that it's an Asian man himself. But then she found out he was a police officer, ex-NYPD cop, and he was angry, and he was trying to find out what happened to Miss Lee himself, and that's why he was beating up Frank, because he saw Frank on the surveillance cameras, all that stuff. So she suggested that he put his pride aside and they work together for Chloe's sake and Miss Lee's sake. And then Robin introduced him to Mel and Harry, and the ex-cop said people who vandalized the store and wrote the racist slurs on the walls came back and killed her. And that another business is being vandalized by the same people, but officers couldn't get statements from the owner due to language barrier. But that's what Robin found out, that last part right there, from Detective Dante. He called her and told her that. So Robin asks, there was also something with a cigarette butt that the young girl Chloe had found outside the store, but the police ignored. So Robin gave it to Dante, and he ran ballistics on it, but they, whatever it was, not ballistics, but you know what I mean. And they could only get a partial print. So that didn't help much. So Robin asked the ex-cop if he spoke Cantonese. And so then we see him with Dante in the car, driving and talking, and he was kind of quiet at first, but later as Dante was talking, he found out that he knew Dante's dad. He says, your dad Big Ben? And he said he was he was a good man. He was one of the only cops, he said, who tried helping him when he was hitting brick walls on the hate crime cases. And Dante said, he was smiling. He said, "You smiling?" He said, "It feels good hearing good things about his dad." Because remember, Dante's dad was locked up for doing something, illegal or whatever it was. So they talked to the victim and find out info about there was a red van that belonged to an electrical company that the men ran and got into. And so Mel goes to that business and finds that red van and breaks into it, but she gets caught. And they were about to grab her and beat her up because they said they was going to take her to the scrap yard. That's what it was. But then Harry showed up and he distracted them, and Mel ran around the van and took the cigarette butts because she was trying to get the cigarette butts out of that van, and that's why she broke into it. And he distracted them while she ran. Then we have Robin meeting up with Kesha. Is it Kesha? Who's afraid to speak in front of this class because she thinks they're going to laugh at her, but Robin, talks her into going back and giving her speech to the class of kids. She told her she is fearless. Go in there, you are fearless. And the girl is like, okay, and she went back in and spoke to the youth. We have Mel. She had a moment with that ex-cop. They were talking, Asian to Asian. I'm telling you, she looks like, I think she may be somewhat Asian herself. So Dante gives them a call and provides Robin info about the cigarette butts, and it ties them to not only Trevor, the guy Trevor who Miss Lee had chased these two guys down. They said when they first started bothering her, she chased them down and stabbed one of them in his eye. And so Trevor is the one who was stabbed in the eye, and Mel realized it when they had her trapped by the van. But Dante said not only did the butts trace to Trevor, but they also traced to that guy Frank who was getting beat up as well, So Dante brings Frank in to talk to him, and he asked him, he put 4 pictures up and asked him, did he know any of those people? And he said no. Then he pushed those 2 up, those 2 guys, and he said he still didn't know those guys. And Dante said, that's strange because they grew up on the same block as you. So how do you not know them? Oh, that was years ago. He said, well, maybe you know this guy. And he had the the ex-cop come in, and they started interrogating, asking questions, but the ex-cop kept pushing. He was pushing. He was on him. He was on the guy till he pushed too hard, and the guy lawyered up. He lawyered up right away. And the guy, the cop apologized. He said, I know I pushed too hard, but they kept saying, wait. Even Robin was watching through that mirror, and she was like, chill. And Dante even tried to get him to chill, but he couldn't because he was grieving. Miss Lee was his friend, and that's why he couldn't stop, So then we see that Robin gets home, and she's smelling that delicious dish, whatever that recipe that Aunt Vi was making. And then she started apologizing that Delilah canceled on her, and that she had to cook it by herself. And that's when Aunt Vi said, no, I didn't have to cook it by myself at all. And she turns around and Delilah is there. She said, not only did she help me cook, but she brought home that bread and stuff. She said, oh, that special bread that we like to eat with it. She said, oh, so you like to, you talked her into it. Vi thought that Robin talked her into it. Robin said, no, I didn't. She said, I told her that she could go to the movies, that she could go. And Vi was so surprised and impressed, and she came in there, and Robin was hugging Delilah, and Aunt Vi came in and grabbed, and they were hugging and stuff, and Delilah said, I didn't realize how important it was to you, and it made sense what Mommy said, so that was a beautiful moment because she learned from it. She learned that, these special moments with your family, Aunt Vi might not be there tomorrow, and you turned her down to go shopping. You didn't need to go shopping. It was just something to do, but you needed to spend that time with Aunt Vi and learn that family recipe. That was important. So Robin asks Aunt Vi and them, could she invite someone to dinner? And I'm thinking it was going to be the girl Kesha, but the way they were looking at each other, they were thinking it might be a man, I think. But then her phone rings, and it's Ray. Ray is the Asian ex-cop, and he's saying that they're not going to get away with it this time, and they're going to pay. And Robin tries to talk him out of doing whatever it is he's going about to do, and he goes in the warehouse. The electrical store was an electrical store, and that's why it was made to look like it was electrical fire, because it was an electrical store that these guys worked in. They knew how to set it up to make something look like electrical fire, where the fire department would think that's what it was. So Ray confronts Trevor and the other guy, and they start to fight and beat him up. And Robin gets there and finds his car and gets there with Dante, and they see his gun and this recording device on the seat. And she was like, oh my God, this is like a suicide mission. And Ray is letting them kill him as he records it all, via this audio tape. So Mel, they're talking, and they were trying to figure out where they would take him, because he wasn't there when they went inside the store. He wasn't there. So Mel said, they said something to me about taking me to the scrap yard, because they said, think of a place that they own that they could probably go to and dispose of a body. So Dante and Robin tried to head that way, but then Mel ran out the door with a jacket, and Harry's like, where are you going? She said, it's going to take them a while. I'm closer. And she ran out there, and she was able to save Ray. They had him in the van and was about to kill him when she came shooting through the door, something like that. But not before Ray was able to get Trevor to admit on tape that he killed Miss Lee. Because he said, I don't care, you're going to kill me anyway, but tell me, why did you kill her? Why did you do that? And he said she didn't deserve to be here. And he started saying everything, why he killed her and stuff. So it was recorded. So they got him saying it on tape. Then in the back of the ambulance, Mel and Ray have a moment. He's telling her she don't have to go with him to the hospital. And she said, yes, I do, because apparently you can't be trusted doing things alone. I said, oh, no. And he was like, he said it was necessary. She said, but you are more necessary. And she was holding his hand. And his face was bashed in, because they hit his face in with, I think, a hammer or something. Oh. And it ended with, as I expected, Kesha was at dinner with them. Robin invited Kesha, and this part broke my heart, because Kesha said she hadn't had a home-cooked meal in so long. She was so thankful to Robin for inviting her. And Robin told her if she ever needed a safety net, that she got one with her. So that was a special moment that I loved, watching. And it ended with showing scenes between that and Chloe. Chloe is started a community gathering against stopping Asian hate. And she said she will be Lee Wong's constant noise, meaning she will always be in that neighborhood saying something against people, hate crimes against Asians. So that's how it ended. It was a wonderful episode. And I just want to thank all of you out there who've been supporting my channel. I really appreciate you. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. This your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.